I want to introduce myself, you guys. My name is Carla. I am your host of the Carla Palmer Show. We're on episode number 4. I started this show because it's kind of a spinoff of my movement, my health and fitness movement. And so, for those of you who don't know, I have a health and fitness movement. It's called GYSB, means Get Your Sexy Back. I started it about 10 years ago, and it started as a movement to really encourage people to work toward optimal wellness, like by losing weight. And I didn't really realize at the time that optimal wellness really meant mind, body, and spirit. Those three things are all interconnected. With this show, I just hope to get people to be a little bit more open-minded about different topics, whether it's health and fitness, whether it's, something that's spiritual or something that's learning something new, changing your perspective about something, or just walking away feeling good. Mindy, welcome to the show. I thank you for being here. I want to just give you guys a little bit of a bio on Mindy. We're going to be talking about transracial adoption with Mindy Shamp. Mindy Shamp is a mom. She lives in Chino with her husband of 10 years and their 4 beautiful children. And I can tell you, they are absolutely gorgeous. You saw them on the flyer. 4 beautiful children that they adopted from foster care. Their ages are 10, 9, 7, and 6. Mindy and her husband knew they wanted to build their family through adoption, but more importantly, they wanted to offer a home, even if it was temporary, to children living in limbo in the foster care system. So prior to adopting their children, they fostered them as well as 8 others within the past 7 years. Mindy cares deeply about the issues youth in foster care face, and she works hard to be an advocate for foster youth as well as other foster parents. Mindy lives a very active lifestyle. She loves to work out, cook, she explores nature and photography. She stays busy taking care of her kids, coaching her son's soccer team, as well as pursuing a small photography business on the side. Mindy, you're super busy. I almost want to put Superwoman under your title, but I know you didn't want me to do that. I know you didn't want me to do that. But thank you so much for being here. And thank you just for being open to talking about this very important topic, transracial adoption. I think a lot of people probably have never even heard of that. They probably don't even know really what that means. I think you can kind of assume what it means just based on the flyer that I put out. But why don't you share a little bit what transracial adoption is?
Yeah, so transracial adoption is when basically you adopt outside of your race. And so for us, we've adopted 3 children, 3 who are black and 1 who is biracial, Latino, and white. And so it kind of just means like the makeup of a family through adoption when the races don't match.
Okay. And you say that in your bio, you adopted your kids, but you fostered them first. What does that mean? So for people who don't know what that means, can you kind of explain what that means?
Yeah, so fostering children is just providing a loving home and a safe home for children who have entered the foster care system. Any kid who's entered the foster care system is because of abuse, neglect, or a combination of both. And typically their birth parents get a chance to take classes and kind of go to rehab or whatever the issue may be in order to get their children back. So typically during that time in foster care, there's visits and there's trying to maintain a connection with their birth family. And so it's called concurrent planning, where they're in a home that may become permanent, but they're also working towards maintaining a connection with their birth family. And then it normally takes about 12 months to 2 years, but in some a lot more, yeah, as you know, for the judge and social workers to decide on a permanent plan for the child based on the child needs, but also more importantly based on the birth parent ability to complete their case plan.
Okay. So you and your husband didn't go in thinking, hey, we want to adopt black and brown children. It didn't work that way, or did it?
No. We went into it knowing that there's lots of children in foster care. At the time, we were pretty young, and we thought, like, we have a home, and we have time, and we have the ability, so we can provide a home for kids. And through all the training and everything, we knew it was always best if they could return back home. So that was always, although we would get very attached to the children, we were trained and we had to learn that the goal is always reunification. And so we knew that going into it.
Okay. And so over time, I guess what happens is that the parents' rights get terminated, and
Right.
then children are available to be fully adopted after the foster care system.
Right.
Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Can you talk a little bit about, what your experience has been, being white parents to African American children, and your son is Latino, right?
Yes.
I hope I'm saying the right term. There's so many different terms you can use, but so what has your experience been like? Have there been any like surprises? I'm sure you went into it thinking like this is a great thing and you're going to be great parents and everything's going to be wonderful. And so I just like for you to kind of share some surprises that you may have had along the way so far.
Yeah, so we went into it being open to fostering any children to any race with a lot of different abilities and a lot of a variety of history. We kind of were willing to take most kids that we would get a placement for, and that included any race. And I'm not gonna lie, like going into it, Eric and I both thought like we know that there's differences and we would need to educate ourselves and so on, with a lot of other things too that come with adoption. But you don't know until you know, to be honest. And so, yeah, we've learned a lot along the way and we're still learning a lot just as far as just like our own white privilege and the way that society views us and our own childhood experience, and that it's vastly different for our children. And honestly, like love doesn't conquer all. Like it's not the band-aid on the wound, and it's a beautiful, happy ending. It's very different.
Yeah. How have your friends and family and even your neighbors, how have they accepted the fact that you are a transracial family and you're going to be working together and living together?
Yeah, so I think a lot of friends and family have the same or had the same mindset that Eric and I had very early on, that there's a child and they need love and we can provide that. And I think for some people it stops there. And then there's other people who have asked questions and want to learn more and are listening to us, and to most importantly, like other people of color who are trying to teach us about these different experiences. um, for Eric and I as the parents, it creates an interesting dynamic because they're our kids and we love them and we want to protect them. And so at some points it can get a little conflicting with family members or friends who just may not understand, to be honest. And I don't think that's grounded in hate, but I do think it is grounded in ignorance. And we've had to decide like what our boundaries are and what is most important to our kids. And what we've decided is that we answer to our kids, and as they grow and as they're growing, they're going to want to know like what kind of world did you throw us in. We all, it's no secret, like we don't match, and they know they're white parents, obviously, they know they're adopted, obviously, and we need them to know like we fully embrace these differences. This is the way that our family is, and there's no changing that, but that we do answer to them as they grow and get older, that as they're having experiences currently and as they have experiences in the future, that like negative racial experiences, that the people we've chosen to have around us are people who can validate them and understand their story, and not just say like you're not really black because you have white parents. If that
And
makes sense.
I'm sure you've come across, people and other kids who have said those things. What are some of the ignorant things that people have said to you, or questions that people have asked, or feel like they have a right to walk up to you and ask? Because I think this is a really good opportunity to enlighten people. I'm sure that as somebody who's always chatting with everybody, I'm sure I've asked some really stupid questions before. So like what kinds of questions have you been asked, and how does that make you feel?
Yeah. I mean, people stare when we go in public, but when I see a family that looks like mine, like I look at them too because you like it's natural to be curious. Like you want to know, like well, I wonder what the story is or whatever. But I think for hopefully a lot of us, like we keep it to ourselves and we just wonder in our brains. But there are some people who, a lot of the time, some things are more innocent, like, oh, do you run a daycare, or are you their teacher, or are you guys out on a field trip? And then, oh no, that's my child. These are my kids. Oh wow, you got your hands full. Oh, and then that's it. But yeah, there are like I tend when my children are around to do a lot of like my younger son looks like my husband and I a lot more. So a lot of times people will say like he's yours. Oh, but he's your real kid, or he's your own, or something to that extent, or you didn't want kids of your own. And when my kids are around, like I'll say something like, "What are you talking about? These are my kids," and kind of like build that family pride. If my kids aren't around, I'll say, "I think what you mean is biological children, or biological siblings," and try to give them the right language, but when my kids are getting older, my sons are 9 and 10, and one of them is extremely introverted, and he hates the Target lady asking questions, and he like sinks into himself mortified, whereas a few other of my kids like being with pride that they're getting attention and are happy to say, oh yeah, I was adopted. And it's, as a mom, like I have to try to figure out what my kids are comfortable with and what they're not, but that their story it's not their job or their story's job to educate people, especially while they're present. And so as they get older, I'm hoping that they can feel more comfortable to do that if they feel comfortable. But what we've always told them is like your story belongs to you. And you're going to get questions, and we're all going to get questions as a family. And adoption is a thing that people know about. So it's very easy to say, oh, yeah, our family's built for adoption. And then if people continue to ask questions, if their classmates continue, then we can say, well, that's private or that's personal if we need.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, I think it's really important to really set those healthy boundaries with strangers and your kids because people they're so bold. They will ask you anything. They will ask your kids anything. I'm sure you've got people trying to touch your daughter's hair.
All the time.
And what do you say to her, when those things happen?
Yeah, I mean, I've like learned about like microaggressions and all of these things that I know adult women have taught me that, but as you know, age appropriate for Hazel, I'm trying to teach her like your hair and your body belong to you. Most people who are complimenting you or paying attention to your different hairstyles or think like you changed your hair every week, they're curious and they're well-meaning because your hair is gorgeous and beautiful, but you don't have to let them touch it. And you, in fact, can say, like, please do not touch my hair, that's not rude. I've said to people, please don't touch my daughter's hair, so she knows, like, it can feel awkward at first, but that belongs to you and that nobody has the power over you to touch your hair. And I mean, even the boys, like their heads are always getting rubbed by other kids. And I know kids are kids, but I've had to try to teach them, like even kids or adults, you're allowed to say, like, please don't touch me. Please don't touch me.
Yeah.
Hazel's always coming home with like clippies out of her hair, and it's like her classmates love it, but it's not like a spectacle. And she starts feeling sensitive about like how long did it take your mom to do your hair? Who did your hair? And she just wants to fit in. So
Yeah. Have you ever run into any issues with like teachers and administrators treating your kids differently than you see them treating other kids at school?
yes, I have. Yeah, I think from an early age, like whether we were in like the Chick-fil-A playground, I would see all the kids climbing and I would see the employees come in and correct just my children. Or in those situations and me be like, oh, that was weird. And as they've grown and they're in school, I mean, they notice like the unequal level at times of like disciplinary actions or like the amount of intensity behind them being consequenced versus a different child. We've had a little white girl spit in my son's face for I was with him. We were walking to the car for no reason. And when I addressed it with the principal, the little girl her hair was caressed. She was comforted. It was said, "You wouldn't do something like that, would she? You wouldn't do that." And in the meantime, my child, who was the one that would do that, is kind of to the side, like, hey. And it's just like, at first, as a white person, you want to give people the benefit of the doubt and be like,
Right.
I'm imagining it, honestly. And
Right.
then you realize you're not imagining it, and this is like the sad reality that I've been shielded from, and that they're not. And it's
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah. And it's really heartbreaking when that's an extreme form of bullying and nothing is really done. And, you know, in this society that we live in right now, like that's the big campaign, right? The anti-bullying campaign. And then you sit there and see something like that happening with your child you love and care about. And it's really disheartening. I mean, even though, you know, it's a teachable moment for maybe the administrator, maybe your child, it happens nonetheless. And those experiences stick with these kids. The other question that I have for you is, you know, just about education. So, I mean, we're all fully aware that this society educates from a very Eurocentric perspective when it comes to history and cultural things. And I was wondering, like, how do you address, you know, cultural issues with your children who don't have your same experiences growing up as a white person?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say we are trying to inform our children as we're informing ourselves. Like I've mentioned just a few minutes ago, even like my husband and I, we are shielded from all of these learning opportunities and like racism and privilege and experiences. And like we didn't ask questions when we were taught history, you know? And now, like, we're trying our best to educate ourselves and then pass that down to our kids about a variety of issues. I mean, even they were having like a Dr. Seuss like read, which common schools do, that read across America week or something. And I think, like I said offhand, like, oh, well, Dr. Seuss was racist. And then my kids were like, what? So then we Googled it, and we as a family did like the research. Or I think like they had heard, and I said, yeah, I've heard that too. I don't know. And sure enough, like some of his early cartoons were like incredibly racist. And my daughter like raised her hand in class and shouted it out that he was racist. And it's like, I mean, she kind of got corrected and shushed, but I'm like, well, like, this is true, and this is something that a lot of us white people just don't have to think about and don't have to, like, haven't experienced all of these different things that lots of other people are talking about that,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's something because I mean, you can teach them stuff at home and then they go to school and they want to not necessarily challenge the teacher, but say, "Hey, have you thought about this or did you know this?" And it's kind of sad how we often do get shut down. We just want to keep the status quo and go about it the way that it's always been done, and that's not necessarily right. What do you do with your so I know that you try really hard to incorporate different cultural experiences for your kids that you and your husband may not have shared experiences growing up. So what do you do to make sure your kids have that experience? Like, do you go to a black church or do you have friends who might not be white, but they may be black or Latin? Do you have those people in your network?
Yeah, we have gone to it was like a very racially diverse church. We went there for 4 years and we built some relationships. It was kind of far from our house, so some of those relationships have stuck, some haven't. But we know it's really important to have racial mirrors for our kids, and we know it's really important for them to be comfortable and around lots of different types of people, but they also need to feel like someone else has experienced what they have. So, I mean, we're as far as trying to form relationships, but we want to make sure it's like a true like relationship, and we've tried to find that balance of like
Yeah.
not seeking all the black people out because we have black kids and trying to be super weird about it, honestly. But having like healthy, true relationships with people of all different races.
Yeah.
And and also books and stories and art and barber shops and all the places that we can have our kids experience and see mirrors that of people that look like them and have experienced them. That's an area that we need to improve on, to be honest, and it's an area we'll probably always be seeking out just because like the majority of our world is white, because we're white, and then what's the best way? That I guess like the reality of us being white is never going to change, and the reality that we've adopted black kids is never going to change. And so we've had to try to, and we continue to try to find the right way to go about like making this as great for our kids as it can be. Because with all loss happens, with them extra losses happen because they lost their birth family and they also lost the opportunity to be raised by people who look like them and have experienced that. So we know that we cannot change that, but our goal is to make sure they have other friends and other adults who look like them. We also spend some time with other families who have adopted black kids so they can have that shared experience, because that's a whole nother layer that black or white other kids have not experienced. So yeah, we're trying our best, but we're not perfect and by any means. But just to acknowledge like our kids' reality and all of the complex layers that come with it. And we try our best to address it in a positive and healthy and affirming way.
Yeah. I mean, I love being around your family and just seeing how much you and your husband really do love your kids. As you know, your husband and I work together, and we shared an office space for a while. And he's so proud of his kids. And anybody who came into the office, you know, they would see that he had all of these pictures that you, with your great photography, took of your family, and camping trips and, you know, trips to the farm. I know you guys had a cow at one point where you were milking the cow and getting milk and fresh eggs. And I know that, you know, your husband's family owns like some kind of like an almond farm or something like that. Am I correct?
A raisin farm.
A raisin farm. So your kids are getting these wonderful experiences that a lot of African American kids don't even have. And so it's a really beautiful thing. And I think people might just look at it and go, oh, they're fine. You know, everything's great. They have a perfect little family. I mean, even I've said that to you before, but as I continue to speak to you and speak to your husband and really get to know your family a little bit more, I see all of the challenges that you guys go through, and the notion of, hey, you know, there's this white family trying to be the white savior, it just kind of goes out the window, because this is not what that is. This is not what that is at all. Oh, and I'm sure you've heard that before. Oh, did you adopt the black kids, you know, just because of white guilt, or you think that you could be a better parent to the black kids than their own kind, and that's just not true.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's never our intention, but we understand that's definitely a perspective. And all we can do is try to do our thing and know that that's not true. But yeah, I mean, I've been asked like, oh, what do you think, you're Angelina Jolie or something?
Right, right.
But, and the truth is, like, that dynamic exists because like the world that we live in, and so we can't get too offended, and we have to understand perspective, you know. Yeah, like any family, you know, we have our issues and we have our challenges, and Eric and I are far from perfect, and our kids are far from perfect, and we're all just kind of learning and trying to do our best.
Yeah. Let me see if we have any questions before I go on. I see that we have a few people here. I have one of my college roommates from UC Berkeley, really, really good friend of mine, Rebecca. She said, Mindy seems to be working so hard at being loving and intentional. Do she and her husband ever see other white parents who have chosen to adopt out of their race that are getting it wrong? That's a good question. And what do you do? Are you like cringing?
Yeah, I am. Okay. So you have the adoption foster care piece, and then you have like the transracial adoption piece. But both are very important to me. And we've fostered for years, and we've adopted 4 kids, so we're kind of like that family that a lot of people point to. Oh, could you help me out? Could you talk to me about adoption? Could you talk to me about foster care? Um, and I think because our kids are black too, like everyone loves a good story. And that's what it looks like from the outside. And so sometimes people just enter in because they want to know the details. But either way, like we've lived our life with our kids and we've gone through their trauma and we've gone through a lot. And so it's very sensitive and personal to me. And so when I see things going wrong, it's really frustrating and
Yeah.
it affects me on a deeper level. Not that we're doing everything perfect,
Right, right.
because I can be corrected and I will fully accept the correction. But yeah, to be honest, like when people enter in wanting advice or help, and then when it comes down to doing the hard work, they're just not interested, and it's really upsetting, to be honest. And that goes anywhere from like just learning hair and skincare all the way to like deeper issues like learning how our whole society works and how like color blindness is not a thing that's going to be affirming to your kids, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. How do you so your kids are very free. So when I've seen you and when I've hung out with you, I notice you give them a lot of freedom, which I think is amazing. How do you discipline your children?
um Free is a really nice word. um Our home runs kind of on like we do a lot of therapeutic and attachment based parenting at the advice of a therapist. So we do a lot of like instead of timeouts, they can come in. The adult's job is to help them know they're secure and safe and they belong. Because with adoption and with kids who have experienced time in foster care comes, like I said, a lot of layers of things. Don't get me wrong, like my kids are going to their room too. But yeah, we try our best to do a lot of therapeutic based and attachment based parenting because at the advice that we've been given, it's best to correct instead of or connect before we correct. And so with our kids, we try really hard to connect with them first and then correct them. Um, and this does honestly open up the door, though, for lots of conversations about like race, because
Absolutely.
advice we've also been given is like your kids cannot act some kind of way in public, like they cannot, and so that comes into it too, where we've had to teach like our sons that like you can't act this way in public, like you cannot, like your white friend will be given a chance and you may not, and it's terrifying, to be honest. It really, I mean, you're a mom too, you know, and it's really terrifying to think like, are we doing what's best? Because there is this therapeutic dynamic that we have to address. We have to. That's part of their story too. And then there's this race dynamic, and it comes with kids who have different abilities. They've experienced different things. Their brains have been wired differently. To see how, like, out in society, they 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 may not be able to help themselves, but they have to for their own safety and protection.
Yeah, I mean, you have sons. They're getting older. You and I mean, I think I shared with you that my son, he was in handcuffs at 15. And we had to have those talks with him prior to that about what do you do when you get stopped by the police, and you will get targeted by the police simply because you are a black male. And so it's sad that we have to have these conversations with our kids, but it's something that we need to do, and it's also really important that discipline is strong in the household when it comes to our children, because I'm not saying to beat your kids at all, but we really need to teach our kids, like, how it is that they need to interact with people who may not look like them, because everybody's not going to get them, everybody's not going to understand. And that's just the way that it is until it gets better. And hopefully it does at some point. I'm looking to see if we have any more comments. You guys, we have 5 more minutes for the show. If you have any comments, please go ahead and put them in the chat box as we continue to talk and kind of wrap up. I'd be happy to answer or ask Mindy, answer any questions or ask Mindy any questions that you might have. I do have another question though. So you guys are very open about adoption with your kids. They all know that they're adopted. Do they ask questions about their birth parents? And if so, what do you say?
Yeah, some of my kids know and remember their birth parents because they came into our home older, and so there's no. I mean, and I've had the privilege of meeting a few of their birth parents too, because they were in foster care and we did visits and all of that. And so yeah, we have like little life books with as many pictures that we could get our hands on of pictures of their birth parents, birth siblings. As much as we can find out and know, some of my kids, we know more information than others. But yeah, they do ask, and we do our best to answer it with all of the information that we know, which is why, like, back in foster care times, we took it as, like, a privilege that we were getting this time to learn more about, like, their birth family and where they came from and all of that. So we can say, like, you look like your birth dad or those kinds of things. It does get complicated because there is some trauma that's remembered.
Sure.
So we also want to teach our kids, like, not every black man is like that. And that goes back to the importance of what you were saying earlier of having a diverse community to show them, like, security and safety, because we don't want them to just feel comfortable and safe with white people. Yeah, so it's complex for sure, but I think, and we've been advised throughout our whole training, that any level of open adoption is best, and the varying of the openness depends on the story. But yeah, it's no secret that our kids are adopted, and it's no secret that we did not birth them, and it's no secret that, like, they had a life and a story and history before they came into our home, and that part of their life and story and history is just as valuable and just as important. It's not like their life started when they moved into our home.
Yeah. Wow. I commend you, seriously. And I'm not like a savior, but I think you guys are doing a great job. I have one more question. I think it's a great question to close out. The question is, do you feel like your family is complete? Any plans for further adoption?
I do feel that our family is very complete, and no, we have no plans for further adoption.
Awesome. Is there anything that you want to close with, or that, maybe I didn't ask you something that you really wanted to talk about? I know that we didn't address the beauty that is within your hands to do hair. Your daughter's hair is absolutely gorgeous every time I see her, and I know that you watch a lot of YouTube tutorial videos, and you are really determined to make sure that your kids go out looking presentable, and I commend you for that, Mindy. I really do.
Thank you.
Is there anything that you wanted to add before we go? I really thank you for being here.
Nothing else I can think of. I truly appreciate being asked to be on the show, and yeah, I'm happy to hear differing perspectives if they come your way, and I really take it as a privilege. So thank you for listening to our story.
Absolutely. So I want everybody to know that we really appreciate your presence today and your questions and your attentiveness. And if there are any questions after the show is complete, you can go in the chat box and ask questions. The live video will be up as a replay. So any comments that you want to add, please feel free to do that. We have another great guest next Sunday. She will be talking about alopecia. And I think you'll really enjoy that topic as well. It's another topic that a lot of people don't know a lot about. So I am signing off the 4th episode of the Carla Palmer Show. Thanks for being here.
Bye.
Bye.